Episode 9 is said to have many different twists and turns, as well as surprises in this movie by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one aspect of Episode 9 that a lot of people are truly looking forward to seeing in this film are, of course, the various cameos from the prequels, the originals, and even Star Wars Rebels that will be making their way into this story in order to bring a final close to the Skywalker saga and, of course, the last film of the sequel trilogy. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art, and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which has all to do with Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, and even the character of Rey. Specifically, a description of Luke Skywalker on the planet of Ahch-To at night next to a campfire, with the tree library in the background. It's described that Luke begins to hear a voice that is said to be the voice of Anakin Skywalker. It's described that Luke's head is now turned, looking at the tree, and witnesses a figure next to the tree that is said to be the apparition of Anakin. The next goes over Luke walking inside of the tree, witnessing the figure of Anakin, which is described to be a mixture of both old and young with a hood over his head, before vanishing into thin air. It's said that Luke takes out a book and later stores it in his hut, where the last now goes over Rey inside of Luke's hut, again holding that very book where it's said to have a route to the Lost City. So I want to go over a couple of parts about this and as to why the dots truly are starting to connect here. Now, you guys may or may not recall, about a month ago or so, we actually heard about two big sets being actually used for Episode 9 that's actually going to be the recreation of the planet of Ahch-To for a very small sequence in Episode 9. Now, we do know that Luke's X-Wing has something to do with the Ahch-To set, so it's very likely that we are going to get a little glimpse of Luke Skywalker's first time on the planet of Ahch-To, his first arrival on the planet, and exactly what that experience was like for him. And it seems as though that J.J. Abrams wants to show us, the first time that Luke Skywalker is able to see the Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker on this planet before closing himself off from the Force itself. Now, this book in particular that he takes out from the tree library and stores in his very own hut, it's very intriguing for sure, because if you guys actually go ahead and watch The Last Jedi, we do know that Rey took all of the books out of the tree library. This would actually give Rey a reason to go back to the planet of Ahch-To to find this book that actually does have a route over to the Lost City on whatever planet that's actually located in. Now, the character of Anakin Skywalker, I can only imagine the amazing scenery in my head of Luke Skywalker sitting at this campfire, which is actually in front of the actual tree library. So I'm imagining that he's in the same exact location where Rey was actually following Luke uphill in that scene in Episode 8, and that's probably where the campfire is actually located, where Luke eventually hears a voice that is said to be Anakin Skywalker reaching out to his son Luke, where Luke eventually turns his head around and sees Anakin, the apparition of Anakin Skywalker, walking into the actual tree library itself. So, what's really interesting about JJ is that he's really trying to connect this movie to both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. That's going to change our view, change our perception, if you will, on the past two movies. And what I love so much about this is that Anakin Skywalker, guys, at the very end of the day, he is the true face of the Star Wars franchise. There's no doubt about it. It's all Anakin/Vader. It's where it all started on the planet of Tatooine, and we moved on from there. So, with Ahch-To having somewhat of a role in Episode 9, it's somewhat mimicking of what we saw in the original trilogy. If you look at Yoda being the master of Luke in the originals, kind of like how Luke was the master of Rey. In the originals, we got Dagobah in 2 movies. Now, yes, we got a little glimpse of Ahch-To at the very end of The Force Awakens, but it seems as though that J.J. Abrams wants a shot at showing us his version of Ahch-To and what he wants to explore on that planet in Episode 9. Now, do I think it's going to be a lengthy sequence? Not really. I think that at max, this is probably going to be a 1-minute sequence where Luke Skywalker's X-Wing crashes. We get to witness that, him climbing out of it, then it jump cuts to this sequence in which we do get to see him doing whatever he had to do on, of course, Ahch-To to learn more about the Jedi lore, and it seems as though that this has all to do with the character of Anakin Skywalker. This also connects to what we went over not too long ago about Luke Skywalker actually learning the Force projection technique from his very own father, Anakin, through the ways of the Force and while Anakin was in the netherworld of the Force. So you can really see how JJ really wants to reshape the sequel trilogy and do something very, very unique and original, and a movie that's really going to be centered on Jedi and Sith lore, especially with the Force-related stuff. And that's one thing that I'm really happy to know about, is that this movie seems like it's going to be the best of this current trilogy. You know, like I say, I feel like it's going to be Revenge of the Sith of our time, because it's going to be the best of the trilogy. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.